taking care of the football is still number one on my list after points.
When you carry the ball, you carry the fate of the entire organization in your hands.
My 7-year-old grandson, Dominic, he knows it already. Ball security is job security.
No doubt.
You ask him that question, and he knows it. I mean, he's primed to give you that answer.
Ramondre Stevenson has heard that 1,000 times.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ball security.
It was ball security and north and south. Those are the two things we finally got Ramondre going on.
You know what, Mike? It reminds me, growing up as a kid, you only have one car in your family.
Right.
And when your dad gives you the keys to the car to go out, to go do whatever you're going to do or go out at night or whatever, that car has got to come back full of gas in one piece because he's got to take it to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And when he gives you the keys to the car, that's a lot of responsibility. It's kind of like handing the guy the ball. You better have it at the end of the play.
That's right.
Don't get.
I don't know if that clip played twice, but it was so good that I just had to taste it twice. I just had to make you taste it twice. So you did. And you know what? Sometimes you're fumbling your earbuds, and I don't know how many people enjoy the little clips I put at the opening title. But there you go, right? If you didn't and you're watching it after, you clicked forward a couple times because you're like, fuck this shit, I want to get to it. You probably scrubbed forward a little bit. You don't want to listen to the intro anyways, in which case, do what you want to do, right? Welcome to First Kick Seahawks, the show where we prepare you for the first kick of every play by game day. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to also support the show, you can always buy me a coffee. I have a link to that in the description below. It's under all of the other links to the show notes for today's show. We are going to be talking about the brand new New England Patriots. I put quotes because it's kind of the same coaching staff. It's just not the same face of the coaching staff. Also, it is now headlined by Jacoby Brissett. I like Jacoby Brissett. He kind of reminds me of Ryan Fitzpatrick, and in a way, I want him to grow his beard out. Like, he's got a beard. He's got a nice beard, but I want beard, right? I want this beard going down to his nipples. I want him to be the next Joby Brisk Magic or something like that, right? I like him. I feel like he's one of those guys who he could be good like Tyrod Taylor, but he always ends up playing for a team that is like, well, we'll just hire him, and then once we build things around him, we can replace him. Which is like, you know what? Fuck you. Right? Do you want to win or not? Well, he's getting paid not a lot of money to begin with. Anyways, we're going to talk about a few things today. One of the things we're going to talk about, courtesy of field goals, which I do, again, have in the description below if you're interested, is today's injury report. Today is, of course, 9/11. Happy birthday to everyone who seems to have a goddamn birthday today. There are so many birthdays. I know at least 3 people who have a birthday today, and it just has become a norm, right? But, of course, everyone is aware of it. Yeah, so that's the thing. We have a few concerning injuries. First of all, Kenneth Walker III. He's got an oblique. That's the one that's down towards the groin slash, it's like down in here, right lower rib area. The biggest concern about the obliques isn't necessarily your power. It's your ability to breathe. When you exhale and inhale, it hurts really bad, and you have trouble retracting. I don't know how bad his oblique is, but he did not participate in practice. What probably happened, in my opinion, and I'm not faulting Kenneth, is that when he picked this player up and threw him over, that would have activated his obliques. When you pick a human being up, that's like one of the things that if you've ever worked in a warehouse, they're like, make sure to use your hip muscles. Otherwise, you're going to pull your lower back or you might hurt an abdomen, right? He did that. And so that can get him out for like 3 weeks, right? He'll probably be fine in a week. But the big concern is his rookie season, he had an oblique injury, and then it turned out to be a really weird tear where there was a tendon going down into his groin, and then that groin tear kept him out, like really fucked up his rookie campaign, and he still played really well. So you don't really want to irritate it at the start of the season, especially when you consider how damn good the 49ers looked against that really bad looking New York Jets team. And we can get to that later if you really want. But Kenneth Walker III, do we need him against the Patriots? I mean, sure, he looked crazy explosive. We'll get to the Patriots run defense in this video. I don't think Kenneth Walker is necessarily the difference in this game. As I highlighted in that opening video, this game is going to be about ball security. That's how they beat the Bengals, is ball security. We'll definitely talk about this at the end of the game, but the main thing that the Bengals lost over was they lost the turnover differential. And it wasn't just their fumbles. They fumbled twice, and they fumbled 3 times. They lost 2 of them, right? You can't fumble twice and expect to win every single game, right? And it was a close game. Bengals lost 16-10. So as far as like the running stats, fairly similar. We'll get into that later. I think a Zach Charbonnet, if you're running between the tackles, he will be fine. Ideally, you don't want to run against this team. You want to pass against this team. And so we could see some good things out of our tight end group in particular. I'm not so sure yet. Right? It's still interesting. I want to look closer at their defensive group as far as their linebackers and safeties go tomorrow. But keep a pin on that one for tomorrow or Friday, because I have doctor's appointments tomorrow. Kenneth Walker, though, oblique, did not participate Wednesday. I wouldn't want him to play this week just because an oblique is a type of thing that you can easily re-irritate. After that, of course, we have George Fant. It's a knee injury. Man, Stone Forsythe is not a good pass blocker. He's not. We could have Michael Jarrell start this week in pass blocking situations and run blocking situations on that right side. Remember, during preseason, I said that Stone Forsythe played most of the snaps on the left side, and then in that third game, they switched them just to see which side was better, i.e., who will not suit up on game day. And so who didn't suit up on game day last week? It was Michael Jarrell, and they had Stone Forsythe swing it over. So they did determine Stone Forsythe was the better of the two. That could be an experience thing. But he did not look good in pass blocking situations. Now, it is week 1, but he did not look great, and there was a lot of plays where he was literally turned around and shoved into Geno Smith. So I kind of want to see what Michael Jarrell can do and almost have them compete again and rotate at that spot, and just keep that competition going. But George Fant's going to be out. Probably at least 3 weeks. Nintendo Dumosa, of course, is still going to be out for a few weeks. What surprised me is Tyrell Dodson is out with a shoulder. I don't know how bad that is, but he didn't participate. This means that if he is out, Tyrese Knight is probably going to be our inside linebacker. Of course, we do have Drake Thomas, but Drake Thomas was getting a lot of work in the preseason. Tyrese Knight not getting as much work as him, assuming Tyrese Knight, who is listed as the backup, would get those starts. He's more athletic. he's got more experience hitting the holes, right? Drake Thomas sat out last year. I think that Knight fits our scheme better. His ability to hit these gaps and his ability to cover, he can get from point E to point better as far as making coverage assignments and then just making the quarterback have to shift. Like Jacoby could still try to test him on passing plays and then he could fail, right? But if you're in position, most of the time the quarterback won't try it because in his mind he's like, oh my God, there's a guy there, got to go to the next read, right? So it's highly unlikely that that he will get tested too often as long as he's in the right spot. And from what we saw in preseason, he was in the right spot. What I liked about him was that he changed his tackling technique. You saw less hip drops, and you did see him just straight up just, slamming a guy down on the ground the way that you would like to see. Not necessarily hawk tackling, right? But just taking him down like a sack of potatoes. Good to see. Limited participation, Tyler Lockett, thigh. We weren't sure he was going to play last week. He showed up, looked good. He's playing. Noah Fant, he's got a toe. He's fine. Farrell Brown's got a foot. He was raised, right? He didn't play last week, but it sounds like he's doing much better. I would expect them to just slowly bring him along. If he does play, expect him to be on that right side a lot, helping the right tackle block. Probably in passing sets. So we'll probably be in 11 a lot. If we are in 12, it will be fascinating because we saw Brady Russell as that fullback. And so we could see Farrell Brown and Brady Russell out there. But Noah Fant does have the ability to swing out and be a receiver. If we see a 21 package, that would be fascinating as well. Jerome Baker has a hamstring. He'll be fine. We knew that he was a little tweaked up as well. Same with Draymond Jones. Reek Woolen has a hamstring. That does concern me a little bit because he has a history of leg injuries and having things tweaked. I don't want him to have another knee injury from a hamstring. We've seen it all the time where a player has had a hamstring injury and then they thought they were fine. Hamstring then cranks up, pulls on the back of the knee, and then they're just out for like 6 weeks. And we're like, what the hell? It's just a hamstring, but it's all connected to everything else. And we can just never get them back on the field. Trey Brown also has a quadricep injury. He looked all right. He got beat on a couple plays, definitely looked like the odd man out. Not saying he was bad, right? But the way that Woolen and Witherspoon looked against an admittedly bad-looking Bo Nix, I would be concerned if we lost Woolen and Trey Brown. I'm not saying that Nehemiah Pritchett is bad, but I don't want to see D. Williams out there. This would be the team to play against with a Nehemiah Pritchett and a D. Williams, because it's not like Jacoby Brissett is that guy, but their running back, what's his name, Stevenson, is really shifty, and he was statistically one of, if not the shiftiest running backs in the league this last week. I think Saquon Barkley was probably the shiftiest running back. I had a stat for it. I just forgot to save it, and I'm not going to go find it right now live. But yeah, I want sure tacklers out there. Nehemiah Pritchett can do that. I don't think D. Williams is that guy. We have him for special teams. So I would rather have a Trey Brown and Woolen out there, even if they have tight hamstrings and quadriceps. Full participation, thank God we have Laken Tomlinson ready to go. Anthony Bradford ready to go. All good things. All good things on the injury report. Now, what's most important is the coaching staff of this new New England Patriots. It's the same goddamn team. They don't have Mac Jones. That's the main thing. They don't have Mac Jones, and they don't have Bill Belichick. And the rest of the coaching staff is basically the same. You ever hear a message delivered to you differently? Like, what would be a great example? It's eluding me right now. Do you win in the first quarter? No. Do you win in the second quarter? No. Do you win in the third quarter? No. Do you win in the fourth quarter? No. But if Morgan Freeman said it, sometimes you just need the same thing delivered in a different way. If you have a guy who's, no offense, old as hell, you might not be able to relate to him. Or better yet, even if he's a young guy, but you're just like, oh my God, I'm sick and tired of him saying the same thing over and over again. He is beating a dead horse. You agree with him, but you're sick and tired of him saying it. You need to bring in somebody else who also agrees with him, but will go about it a different way. And that's basically what the Patriots did. I'm not going to start with their head coach first. Why would you do that? Right? Bill Belichick was laid off, and in his contract, he had an agreement that Gerard Mayo would be made a head coach. They didn't even do interviews because it was required to make this dude his head coach. He already had his successor picked out. That doesn't fucking happen in the NFL. So I'm not going to start with him first. I'm going to save the best for last, because it's going to bring it all around like SpongeBob around town. We're going to start with Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator. Now, New England, these last few years, not necessarily known for their offense, especially with Mac Jones, not known for their offense at all. Van Pelt was the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns over the last 4 seasons from 2020 to 2023. Cleveland Browns also not really known for their offense, but during his time in Cleveland, Van Pelt helped the offense to some of the best numbers the Browns have generated. With the Browns generating 408 total points in 2020 for the second most points in team history. Not known for their offense, that's pretty damn good if it's almost breaking a franchise record. And then 396 points in 2023, which was just last year. And we're going to get to that. That's the 5th most points scored in a season in team history. Who the hell were the quarterbacks in 2023? Well, it wasn't Baker Mayfield, which would make sense. It wasn't some great free agent that they brought in. No, they had... Look at this shit. They had 5 games of Joe Flacco. They had 6 games of sorry-ass Deshaun Watson, who was statistically the least accurate quarterback in the league last year. We had 2 games of PJ Walker, and we saw how fucking bad he was for the Seahawks. We had 3 games of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and then they had a game with Jeff Driscoll. And they went 11-6. What? With Joe Flacco, Watson, Walker, Thompson, Robinson, Driscoll, they went 11-6. That's what this dude did as an offensive coordinator last year. The Browns, who have been around since the league started, put up their 5th highest scoring points in team history. with the fucking Joe Flacco literally coming off of his couch. Joe Flacco put up 13 touchdowns, and then the fuck all for everyone else. What? What the fuck happened? I'm curious actually about their fucking rushing. So they do have Jerome Ford. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, 813 yards. Kareem Hunt, he had 9 touchdowns with 411 rushing yards. And then fuck all. What? He built a suit with a box of scraps in a cave. Dude's Iron Man pelt. What the hell, man? What the hell? Under Van Pelt, the Browns' rushing game finished in the top 10 in the NFL in 3 of his 4 seasons with the Cleveland Browns, including finishing 3rd in rushing average in 2020 and leading the league in 2021 with 5.1 yards per rush. The 2021 Cleveland team had the second most scrimmage yards in franchise history with 6,200 yards. How the hell? Who was their quarterback in 2022? Well, it wasn't Deshaun Watson, who did have 6 games started before you fucking couldn't play anymore. It was Jacoby Brissett, who played 11 games. He went 4-7. He had 2,608 yards. He had 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Rating of 88.9, which is solid. He was sacked 24 times, which is okay. They also had Nick Chubb toting the goddamn rock. So again, running the shit out of the ball. 1,525 yards and 12 touchdowns. This is fascinating to me because when you look at Jacoby Brissett, and I should be on the right screen. I should be showing you everything right now. Jacoby Brissett's history. This is his 2024, but let's look at his whole career. 2022, right? Cleveland fucking Browns. One of his best seasons. That's one of his best seasons, just yards. One of his best seasons, touchdowns. Now, he got 11 games. In 2019, he played for the Colts for 15 games. That's when he had almost 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, another 88 rating. 27 sacks, right? So he just had 4 more games. And then in 2017, his second season, first year with the Colts, he played 15 games, had 3,098 yards, 13 touchdowns. Not great. But you can tell why. Because he was sacked 52 fucking times. Right? This is why Andrew Luck fucking retired. Because he was getting hammered. And then Jacoby Brissett came in and, he was getting fucking hammered. And then didn't get to start the following year. But yeah. Had a bunch of years off and on. Jacoby Brissett comes into Cleveland. Now he has a year off again. Goes to New England, plays 1 game. We're going to find out. We're going to find out if Alex Van Pelt can bring this 2022 season into Seattle, which it's the Cleveland Browns. Their ownership is trash. Not only is their ownership trash, their front office has been doing the best they can with Kevin Stefanski, but their whole cap future right now, their draft picks, they have nothing to work with. They have a bunch of old pieces and then cheap free agents. He made an Iron Man suit with a box of scraps in a cave in the middle of fucking cornfield nowhere. Attaboy, Alex Van Pelt goes to New England to reinvigorate this New England team. Honestly, Mac Jones probably could have used him. If you remember, I started the show by saying that this is an old team of coaches, except for Alex Van Pelt. There's a few other coaches in there, but I'm talking about the big names, and he is a big name that you need to be focusing on. Because when we're talking about the Seahawks defense, what was one of the big problems the seasons before? We cannot stop the run. This guy has not had a quarterback since becoming an offensive coordinator, and he has prospered in one way or another as long as he has had a running back. Now I'm curious right now. Give me a second. Patriots running backs. Who is this guy? Who is this kid? Man, Google has gotten so bad at listing. Oh, there it is. It is Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson. Hell yeah. That is a cool ass name. Ramondre Stevenson. Sorry, I'm getting all fucking excited. I like cool ass coaches that bring things to the table. Let's look at Ramondre Stevenson. He's been in the league for 4 years. He did have a 1,000-year season in 2022. 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns his rookie season. Where is his yards per attempt? Dude averages over 4. Last year was 4.8. 4.6 his rookie year. His best season, he averaged 5. And as I said earlier, he is shifty as all fuck. If we looked at that Van Pelt stat in 2021, he got the Browns leading with 5.1 yards per rush. We, as the Seahawks defense, and we're the 12th man watching thinking that we are this team, this is a big test. Because we had that Broncos team for the longest time in that game, averaging 2.7 yards per play. And that team sucks ass. And this is a chance to prove it. Because maybe the Broncos are okay and it was just week 1. But when you watch the way that our defense played, I have not seen a team played like that in a long time. And not only that, I have never seen all 11 players play like that in a long time. I've seen maybe 8 players on a defense play like that. Like the Legion of Boom, as good as they were. I've seen like the front 7 do that. And then a cornerback and a safety or 2 safeties. But there's always been a weak link somewhere. That defense had no weak links. And we were playing vanilla. And that offense was vanilla, right? But if we can hold their offense rushing to 3 yards, that is a success. If we hold them to 3.3 yards, which is ultimately what we held the Broncos to, that is a success. Because Van Pelt has always found success. And Stevenson, from what we just looked at, looks like he's got some damn potential. He just might be a Doug Martin, where he might be just a little squishy. Other things to mention. Joining is Scott Peters. I like Scott Peters. First of all, he looks like a guy I used to work with. He's got the same fucking face. I used to work with a former Arizona Cardinal who was a tight end. He's got the same exact goddamn face. In fact, when I first saw him, I didn't see Scott Peters. I'm like, holy shit, is that? And then it wasn't, right? But this is Scott Peters. And he looks like a guy that you would have a few beers with, and then he would say something awkward about you, right? And then you'd have a good laugh. Arizona State, too. That's funny. Anyways, Peters. He began his coaching career in 2020. Interesting, right? As the assistant offensive line coach for the... That's for you, Eric. Cleveland Browns. For the Cleveland Browns. We just talked about Alex Van Pelt and the Cleveland Browns. During his first season, the Browns finished third in the league in rushing, blah, 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 averaging 148.4 yards rushing per game. Peters also helped right tackle Jack Conklin learn his first All-Pro. Guard Joel Bitonio. I think I said that right the first time. And guard White Teller earn second team honors. Bitonio was also selected to the Pro Bowl. Peters coached 2 Pro Bowl selections in 2021 with the same guys, earning invites. The duo Pro Bowl invitations marked the first time a pair of Brown guards were selected to the Pro Bowl since 1967. The Browns also led the NFL in rushing average in 2021 with the 5.09 mark, which is different than they have posted here with the 5.1. They rounded up by 0.01. The highest average by the Browns team since 1967. So this guy comes into the Browns with Alex Van Pelt, and they're setting Browns rushing records since the 60s. When did fucking Brown play for the Browns? Why am I forgetting his name right now? His first name. I just remember Brown. Jim Brown. Yeah, he was doing that in the fucking 60s. Yeah, he was doing that in the 50s and 60s. That was when Jim Brown was doing that shit. So they were setting running records that were set when the Browns were their absolute best in an era when people don't run the goddamn football. That's really impressive. And that's basically his resume, is that he came in and he helped Alex Van Pelt. There's always a head coach. There's always a coordinator of some kind that brings in his pup. Like, I'm coaching this guy up. There was Leslie Frazier who brought in Mike McDonald, right? And then I'm going to coach this pup up, right? Or I guess Jay Harbaugh. I'm going to coach this pup up. Going to send him to Michigan with my brother. He's going to come back. Kid's ready to go. Now he's a head coach, right? Scott Peters might end up being a coordinator one day. Van Pelt might end up being a head coach one day. Keep your eyes on that. Maybe bet on it if that's something you're interested in. These are damn good coaches with nothing to work with. You know, like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan had fucking Kirk Cousins to work with in a destroyed RG3. And then the Commanders and Dan Snyder just were terrible, right? So then they ended up, like the Browns, right? Dysfunctional organization. They end up going to organizations that aren't dysfunctional. Success. Let's see. What was also fun about that 2020 team, by the way, is that they did have Baker Mayfield. All right. I want to point out one more thing about the offensive line, and then we can move on. y'all know, if you don't know, how I feel about Pro Football Focus. Their grade 0 is broken. It's specifically designed to sway numbers for betting. I have a whole 8-hour presentation on it called The Curious Case of Charles Cross and Pro Football Focus. But in summary, if you go and you do what is expected, you will be punished for it. Right? But if you do what is beyond expected more often than other players, you will be rewarded for it, even if you're not getting fucking paid for it. If you have more negative plays than are expected, then your grade will go down. But if you play well, right? For example, let's say we run towards Kenneth Walker's side, the right side, 10 times a game, and we only run twice to the left behind Charles Cross. And when we run behind Charles Cross, it's always an explosive run, so he gets a +1 twice. So that's a +2 grade. But every time we run the 10 times to the right, he just does his job. He gets a 0. But if the guy on the right does his job just well enough each time that he gets a +5 grade, a 0.5 grade, right? Which he's doing his job just a little better than expectations because Kenneth is Kenneth and he's making an explosive play. Even though he ran 10 times, he'll have a grade of 5, which means that Stone Forsythe theoretically would grade better than Charles Cross. That's how that math works. So even though Charles Cross might have a better rusher coming in his face and he might do a better job, and even though, Stone Forsythe is getting help from the running back and the guard helping him out, and the running back is making the play for him, and he doesn't have to block as long, and it doesn't count the passing block reps, step 3, 5, and 7, right? There's a whole bunch that goes into it. The grades are broken. It's designed so that you can have a general idea so that you can make effective bets. It doesn't tell you if player A is actually better than player B. If Charles Cross has 1,000 snaps and he, and then there's another player that has 500 snaps, Charles Cross has more opportunities to get a grade 0 than the player that has 500 snaps, which means that he has more opportunities for his grade to slightly go down, which means that the better he does, the worse he could do, right? The more consistent he can be, the worse his grade can be. So it doesn't make sense, right? I go into it better in the video. I have the math written out. I'm not doing it now. But just so you can get the idea based off of their scales, in 2020, after the season, the Cleveland Browns were ranked number 1 in offensive line grades. Baker Mayfield had the number 1 offensive line in the league. Chubb had the number 1 offensive line in the league. This was the season he had 1,500 yards, which he might have added to this grade being that way, right? The Teller and what's his name, both the Pro Bowl and then the All-Pro guard, they might have gotten that grade because of Chubb and Mayfield. But in 2019, they were ranked 23rd. That's a gigantic jump. Even if I disagree with the grade 0, going from the 23rd worst to going to number 1, that's still such a remarkable difference that the grade 0 doesn't matter at that point, right? The numbers are going to swing so hard. They might not be number 1. They might be number 5, but it'll swing. The swing is so huge that the difference matters on tape, right? That grade 0 is not going to break that. So just to point out, like, the fact that they brought these guys in to New England. I don't know what New England's grade was for PFF last year, but they're going to be a really fucking good team this year. Either way, purely because of coaching, right? They're going to get a lot out of Stevenson, who this is not Stevenson. I closed that tab. They're going to get a lot out of any of the running backs, especially Stevenson if he can remain healthy, because he's looking great in EPA right now. But we need to be ready. Jerome Baker better be healthy. Reek Woolen better be the tackler that we think he is. Devin Witherspoon better not whiff like he did against Bo Nix, because Stevenson is better than Bo Nix. Don't get cocky, young pup. Julian Love better be the number one safety in the league, as he's being lauded as. Let's fucking go, because this team is actually underrated. The Patriots are going to be so hard to beat. And the fact that people are making fun of them for beating the Bengals is an insult to the Patriots. Let's continue. We're going to go over to the defense. We're going to talk about their defensive coordinator, DeMarcus Covington. While we're at this, I appreciate you all for making it this far and being here, especially since I go on a tangent over here, tangent over there. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel while we're here. DeMarcus Covington, defensive coordinator. This dude, I believe he played wide receiver for Samford, not Stanford, Sam, like Samwise Gamgee. I thought he played for the Patriots. He did not. Here we go. The Patriots defense. Sorry, he enters his first season as defensive coordinator in 2024 and his 8th season overall with the Patriots, right? He's a Bill Belichick dude. Covington served as the defensive line coach for 4 seasons. What I find most interesting about this, he was a wide receiver in college, and now he's teaching defensive line. I talk about this all the time, how defensive line and wide receivers are the same position on the opposite sides of the ball. I talk about all the time how offensive line and defensive backs are the same positions on the opposite sides of the ball. They're just different weight classes and different timing. Anyways, Covington served as the defensive line coach for 4 seasons between 2020 and 2023. Prior to coaching the defensive line, Covington coached the outside linebackers, we'll get to that, in 2019 following 2 seasons as a coaching assistant. 2019, remember, that defense was really fucking good, and then that Tom Brady offense was really fucking bad. I believe that was the year that Gilbert won Defensive Player of the Year. Stephon Gilbert won Defensive Player of the Year. Not a linebacker or defensive line coach, but I'm just saying that defense is really fucking good. The Patriots defense finished in the top 10 in 4 of his 5 seasons as a position coach. Last season, the Patriots defense finished 4th against the run, allowing 93.2 yards per game, which is a little crazy, because I would imagine if you're 4th against the run, you'd be like keeping them at like 80 or 75. If 93.2 is like close to 100 yards per game. Back in my day, 100 yards per game was like really fucking good. And now I feel like maybe it's because teams are getting more reps, right? Maybe it's quarterback rushes that are adding on top of it. I don't understand. But if the 4th best team against the run is allowing 93.2, that's just the era, right? More defensive backs, more 3-4 fronts. They're just not as heavy up front. The team's best, more Tampa too, right? You got more deep coverage. The team's best finish since allowing 88.6 yards per game in 2016. We all remember that year. The Patriots defense allowed 3.3 yards per rush the lowest in the NFL in 2023, and the lowest mark for the Patriots since the 1970 merger. Imagine allowing 3.3 yards in a game. Like, imagine just going for 3.3 yards in a game. That would be so embarrassing. I can't imagine that being my team. Just rubbing that salt in. He joined the organization in 2017 after spending the 2016 season as a co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach in Eastern Illinois. Blah, 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 blah. The biggest thing on this is he can speak the Bill Belichick language, which Gerard Mayo can speak, and now he's the defensive coordinator, right? He is the defensive line coach for 4 seasons, and then prior to that, he was the outside linebackers coach in 2019. Which brings us finally to head coach Gerard Mayo. I like Gerard Mayo. I like him a lot. What's most interesting about Gerard Mayo is that he was an outside linebackers coach. So the linebackers coach made the guy who was the outside linebackers coach, who then became the defensive linebackers coach, his coordinator. What did I say about Alex Van Pelt and then Scott Peters? There's always the overstudy, and then there's the understudy. And the overstudy brings the understudy along until the understudy becomes the overstudy, and then the overstudy moves on. You have the Jedi Master, and then you have the Padawan. Padawan becomes a master, then they both get new Padawans, right? And then this guy just goes off and joins a circle of elders, and they sit around the table sipping tea and looking at it to see if you're peaceful, and then hopefully somebody doesn't become Zamazu and try to kill everybody. This dude knows the Bill Belichick defense inside and out, which is scary for a lot of reasons. He played, I'm 90% sure, let me double check that note. Man, they got a lot of notes on this guy. Fuck it. I want to say he played. Yes, he was drafted 10th overall in the first round in the 2008 draft for Tennessee, and then he spent his entire NFL career in New England before retiring following the 2015 season. He played linebacker and appeared in 103 games in his career, racking up 905 tackles. The most important thing is what I always talk about is language. He can speak the Bill Belichick language. And what was Bill Belichick most notable for? The details. And the work ethic. And the do your job. But mostly it was that defense. From his time in Cleveland and the Giants before that, or was it after that? Whatever. His attention to detail made him a champion. And his attention to detail on defense as a way to counter and to scout players because of football scouting methods from his dad allowed him to anticipate what his opponents were going to do and make every game a game that he could win, even when he shouldn't win. And Gerard Mayo knows how to do that, which makes him a hell of a coach. And so when you pair him with Alex Van Pelt, who historically has been a great coach, and Scott Peters, who historically has made offensive lines amazing, and DeMarcus Covington, who is also somebody who speaks the Bill Belichick language, they're going to continue to step right in line with that Bill Belichick defense. Nothing's going to change. Which is why everyone was so surprised, apparently, that they were going to stop Jamar Chase and company. I was not. Because that's just the Patriot way. Nothing changed. What did surprise me was that their offense took care of the ball. I wasn't sure that was going to keep going. Their offensive line seemed together. And we're going to have some trouble. Unless Mike McDonald is actually for real. You know those slug matches that the Ravens and the Browns had last year? You know, when the Browns came to play last year with PJ Walker and like, this guy might actually be good. It's because of Alex Van Pelt. So, if it turns out Gerard Mayo is also a hell of a coach, not just somebody that can speak the Patriot language on defense, but also lead these men and empower his coordinators, we might be in trouble against this Patriots team on offense. On defense, we just need to stop the run and not get hurt. If we're for realsies and not for plays, it's going to be another play. It's going to be a punt fest for them. But it's gonna fucking hurt for us if we can't get our offensive line together. That first half of that Denver Broncos game, that defense is not good. That Denver defense is not good. They're trying to laud Patrick Surtain for only allowing DK 3 catches. Never mind that he had 2 flags thrown on him and DK dropped another. And then there was another flag that should have been called for Surtain punching DK in the face. And another for grabbing DK by the collar and ripping him around. Let's ignore that. That Denver Broncos defense is not good. And they're going to struggle this year. This Patriots team is going to whoop our ass if our offensive line on the right side cannot get its shit together. Charles Cross, this is the make or break. I've been saying for years he's good. He's like a B- left tackle. But in camp, they're saying he's a B+ tackle. Prove it. I would love for him to prove it. This is it. Charles Cross up against this Patriots defense. Let's fucking go. I don't want Kenneth Walker in there because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Zach Charbonnet, you can do it. Hell, Kenny McIntosh can do it, or you won't. Kenneth Walker will be in the same situation as those two if our offensive line is getting crushinated at the second level or on the right side. Because this defense is really fucking good. Geno Smith, he got some balls off against Tyler Lockett. He made some plays at the 5th step by sliding. But he's going to be in fucking trouble if there's a dude in his face and he's having to throw this ball away and we're going to punt the entire game because he can't get any sort of pocket on that right side because Stone Forsythe is getting turned around and shoved into his face like it was on Sunday. At least let him fail. At least let the defensive backs try to make a play on the ball. Instead, they're just making it so damn hard on him, we can't do anything for an entire half. Even the second half, it was looking a little trepidatious. Nah, this Patriots defense is going to be a good test. Can we learn from our mistakes on offense from week 1? And this Patriots defense might be a top 5 unit when it's all said and done. If you want to beat that 49ers defense that absolutely embarrassed Aaron Rodgers completed zero passes on the right side of the field. If you want to beat that team, you have to beat the Patriots. If you want to beat that team. You have to stop the run against the Patriots. They have an all right quarterback, but it's a very similar team. They have a great offensive line, including the coaches. They have a really good defense that's going to punch you in the mouth and stifle you. And then they have a good running back. They don't have a great running back. If they had a CMC or if they had a Jordan Mason, sure. We don't know about Stevenson. He might be legendary because of this offensive line change. We're going to see. We need to stop this group. If we do it, I'll feel confident. That Bengals didn't know what they were in for. Let's talk about that a little bit. I touched on it briefly. Cincinnati Bengals lose to the New England Patriots 16-10. Shocked the world except for me. I saw that coming. First of all, I'm not a Bengals believer. I haven't been since their Super Bowl run. Few things of note. Let's look at their turnovers. Fumbles. New England had 1 fumble, lost 0. Cincinnati, 3 fumbles, lost 2. Time of possession, 34 minutes for New England. We'll round this up to 26 minutes for Cincinnati. What is most important about this is the turnover differential. I've talked about turnover differential before. Last season, this is a new season, so I'll get you up to speed. Punts are turnovers, and 4th down failed conversions are turnovers. I got my little notepad. So, as we established, we got 2 turnovers for the Bengals. The normal turnovers would be a fumble or an interception, right? Muffed punts type of thing. The total punts for the New England Patriots, they had 5. And then the Bengals had 4, which means that currently you have 5 turnovers for the Patriots, 6 turnovers for the Bengals. When you then include the failed 4th down conversions, right? Because there was a 4th down conversion attempt right here by Cincinnati, probably towards the end of the game to try to win it all. You then had 5 turnovers by the Patriots, 7 turnovers by the Bengals. That gives the Patriots a +2 differential on turnovers. They're winning +2. It's a 5-7 differential. What was the difference? Well, the Patriots kicked 3 field goals, and the Cincinnati Bengals kicked 1. And how many, if you just have 2 turnovers that the Bengals don't have, that balances out right there, and it's a 10-10 ball game. You go to overtime. What did we talk about at the beginning of the video with Bill Belichick? Take care of the ball. Specifically, hold on to it, don't fumble. And that is our challenge for this game. Whether you're Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf trying to do too much because you just restructured your contract, I don't care. Do not turn over the ball against the Patriots. We spotted 10 points against that sorry-ass Denver Broncos team, and to this day, they're still saying, well, it was a close game. That had no business being a close game. No business at all. But if you don't pay attention to the teeny little details, you will lose. You will lose that game, and you will lose that game almost every time. You have no business turning the ball over at the NFL level over simple shit. And this also means don't punt the ball. Don't be taking stupid shots down the field in the first quarter when you haven't even established any type of rhythm for your offensive line, that's going to lead to interceptions on the second play of the game when your quarterback just got sacked. And then you're not going to have any running plays, which is going to, people say it's a new era. It's a new era. We don't run the ball anymore, except we've already established that the fourth best running defense last year was holding teams to 93 yards per game. It is a running league now. Some of the best teams in the NFL run the ball. Last year, it was the 49ers with Christian McCaffrey. And then on the other side, the Chiefs with Isaiah Pacheco. Before that, Isaiah Pacheco went off in the playoffs. And then you had Jalen Hurts. Yeah, it is a running league still. And the reason you run is so that you can move defenders just a little bit to delay them. It is a game of feet and inches. And if you want to have your offensive line have any semblance of a chance to allow your quarterback to stay in rhythm on passing plays, you need to run the ball so that defenders have to respect the timing of your offense. It's very simple. Now, there are offenses that are so fucking good historically that they're just slinging all over the place against bad defenses. Sure. But mathematically speaking, running the ball has always been successful. Even that 2013 Broncos defense ran the ball. And they ran it a lot. It just so happened that nobody could stop their passing game either. So the combination of the two was absurd. I also want to talk on a few other things. In this game with the New England Patriots and the Bengals, it was really close. It was really close statistically. The Patriots, they ran the ball for 4.36 yards per attempt. They allowed 4.375 yards per attempt running the ball. So 0.015 yards more per rush. That's basically chump change. Passing. Their defense allowed 8 yards per catch. They had 8 yards per catch whenever the Patriots threw the ball. Their defense allowed 7.8 yards per catch. And the game ended up being 16-10. So you have basically the same passing stats, basically the same rushing stats. What was the difference? The turnover differential. Don't fumble. Don't turn over on fourth down. Don't lose the punting differential, which the Patriots did lose the punting differential by 1. I'm excited. I hope you're excited for this game too. I'm going to look a little closer at their defensive players and maybe their offensive line before game day. Please like the video. Subscribe to First Kick Seahawks. I'm Camden MacLaren. And I will catch you guys around. Go Hawks.